Gen Con 2026 has just come and gone. This is the biggest convention for ttrpg, Dungeons & Dragons, all things geek for people like you and me. And they've made some crazy announcements, and maybe you've heard some of them, but we are going to talk about them, and I am going to give you my opinion as someone who has been working on the ttrpg business for almost a decade. I am going to base my coverage of this video on Polygon's article about it, which you can see here on the screen. They give us this intro about some things that are announced, but then we're going right to the meaty subject, the new initiative by Wizards of the Coast that they call D&D Icons. And Polygon describes it as Wizards of the Coast is bringing some of D&D's foundational creators back into the fold through a new initiative called D&D Icons. The goal is to bring together legendary creators with the current design team to help shape future content. So they are bringing Joe Manganiello to serve as Chief Creative Officer of the initiative. I find this one a little odd. It would make more sense to make the chief one of those icons, one of those foundational figures. I do not dislike Joe Manganiello. I think he's pretty cool, so okay, but I just find it a little odd. So they are bringing in first the creators of Dragonlance, Margaret Wise and Tracy Hickman. They're also bringing in R.A. Salvatore, or Salvatore, I don't know how to pronounce it, who wrote the novels, The Legends of Trist. All these three are very high profile D&D creators or D&D adjacent creators. I'm really happy for how they will shape the future of D&D. But they're also bringing Luke Gygax. It says here the program's first collaborator is Luke Gygax, who will contribute to the upcoming Greyhawk material. And it supposedly, allegedly, will include content run from unpublished notes left by his father, Gary Gygax, which, if you don't know, is one of the co-creators of D&D 50 years ago, or however that long that was. All in all, I think this is good. I think it's a good faith move to recapture some of the lost spark of D&D. Next, third-party studios will make official D&D adventures. We know that third-party material for D&D has always been out there. I have made some myself. It has to be sold through the DM's Guild. That's the only caveat, and it's not officially endorsed, but it is allowed by Wizards of the Coast. But now they will offload some of their creative work to some select invitation-only third-party studios. Here they give us at least the first three that will be doing it. It's Ghost Fire Gaming, which in 2027 will be doing some Domains of Dread, which were recently featured in the Ravenloft Horrors Within book. That's pretty good. And then there will be an Eberron adventure featuring the Lord of Blades, but this one will be done by a different group, Visionary Productions. And then Cobalt Press will be working on new Forgotten Realms material. I think that this follows the trend that we have seen with Magic the Gathering, where they have increased the pace at which they release new stuff. But with D&D, it's a little difficult because the books are slow and difficult to make. So I guess this is how they are going to increase the pace of products. They will offload some of the creative work to third-party studios, which will be officially in the fold of Wizards of the Coast. In this way, they can release more books without actually having to make them. These three studios, they have made amazing material. They can, of course, make a book with great quality. I only wonder if the pace at which they want to release stuff is going to be maybe too fast, too focused on releasing a lot of stuff instead of it being good. I don't know, only time will tell. Then there's some announcements about D&D Beyond. All this, I'm really going to skip all this because I don't use D&D Beyond, nor do I currently play in a D&D 5e campaign. I play other systems most of the time. But they are remaking the whole thing. They're also redoing a mobile app that launches next year. But the most important thing here is what it says here. D&D Beyond itself will receive a rebuilt search function alongside blah 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 with some preparation tools, including a scene manager, map pins, bookmarks, and counter management features that do not require opening maps or another virtual tabletop. So what they're trying to do is keep everything in their closed garden so that people don't have to rely on a VTT like Roll20 or Foundry VTT or Alchemy VTT or whichever you do, like Owlbear Rodeo. There are so many out there, and I guess D&D is kinda late to this party because they have failed to release a usable tool. They have D&D Beyond, which is, I guess, the best character maker for D&D 5e and the best rules encyclopedia for their system, but it doesn't have a virtual tabletop, and they're trying to solve that. I mean, I hope they make a good tool, the more the better. So I guess they're trying to make like a clone let's call it a clone of Roll20 or Foundry VTT. I guess that's what they're trying to do. But it will also have this mobile app. There are some screenshots here about it. They made this announcement about the Warlock video game that's coming. It's about this woman, Katri, who's a Warlock, and her patron is Tasha, also known as Igwilf, the Witch Queen. We don't really know much about it. There is a trailer out there about the game. I watched it earlier with Arthur on a live stream on Patreon, which you could have watched live if you followed our Patreon page, link in the description. However, the trailer doesn't really give you that much to judge. Like, you see this woman and you see some admittedly cool cinematics, but it's not a gameplay trailer. There will be a gameplay trailer later this month. It's announced here. A gameplay footage will debut at Gamescom 2026. That's at the end of August, so we'll wait for that. Maybe we'll watch it live. They announced this book, Arcania Unleashed, with a full campaign, levels 11 through 20. I'm not really that interested into this. I don't think that D&D 5e really does that well from level 10 upwards. It gets a lot clunkier than it already is, but to each their own. A lot of people do like those 3-hour battles. You have fun. I wish it is good so that people that actually purchase it enjoy it. And then there's this announcement about Greyhawk returning with the Crown of the Witch Queen. I'm guessing this product is one of those that will involve those D&D icons that they announced before. Well, this will be a 160-page campaign centered on Drelsna, the vampiric daughter of Tasha again, aka Igwilf, who is herself a witch queen too. Wizards of the Coast describes this as a villain-focused story with operatic, thrilling, archetypal visual style. This sounds like they want to do something akin to Curse of Strahd, but in Greyhawk. Oh, what I said earlier, it's confirmed here. Sorry, I didn't read it all that well. It says it also represents the first campaign setting supported by the D&D icons, meaning Luke Gygax's contributions and Gary Gygax's unpublished notes could help shape the wider return to the world. I'm gonna say it now. Every time they say something about a person who has passed away, who left some notes that were never published, and then they use it as propaganda for something else, as marketing for something that they are going to publish now that the person has passed away, I always take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes I think it's only marketing. However, that doesn't mean that whatever content they have is bad or that Luke Gygax is not a good writer. We really don't know, so time will tell. This is one of the best announcements that they made on Gen Con. They will release a Dark Sun 4.5e. However, and many people were worried that they were gonna water it down or make it politically correct or just make it PC in general. But no, they announced it will be M-rated. It says right here, it's going to be labeled for players 18 and older. Sold shrink wrapped, so you cannot produce it in the store, and it will include bloodshed, nudity, and sexuality. And well, there's some images right here. I'm going to be scrolling about them. There's this guy being beheaded down here. All these people on the screen are probably dying right now. This monster, he just like lifted his hands and everyone is dead. There's blood everywhere. This looks like some Dune Warhammer 40,000 like scenario. Very Dark Sun-like. Now I have to admit, full disclosure, I was never that into Dark Sun. Back in the day, we used to be Eberron fanboys, and we never actually got these books. I never read them. I only know about it from what I've seen. However, the release of products that are limited for adults, M-rated, in any franchise, I always take it into consideration. I think it's very brave of them to try it, because these games, I mean, I guess one could argue, who is the target audience for this? Is it me, who am almost 40 and who can consume M-rated content? Or is it aimed at children or teenagers? I guess everyone is the target audience because the Wizards of the Coast wants to sell this to everyone. And since they also hold the Magic the Gathering brand, which is very children, teenage oriented, because they want them to buy. They want to get these kids addicted to the booster packs. Of course they want to. So when they do this, I really think, wow, I mean, they're really going in on the old guard and trying to sell stuff for, like, not for everyone. No, it's just very specific. It doesn't mean it's gonna be good, especially since Wizards of the Coast hasn't made stuff like this for a while. Do they still have it? I don't know. Also, it's part of this, maybe because I didn't watch the official announcement, I don't know what it means, but it says Dark Sun will anchor D&D's Season of Survival, which begins in February 2027. The product line spans nearly 500 pages across Blood and Power, a player-facing expansion, Edge of Oblivion, which is going to be a campaign setting guide for the Dungeon Master, and a limited edition player's handbook featuring alternate Dark Sun artwork. I am very hyped for this one. They also will formally introduce the Scion as D&D's second new class for 5th edition. Then there's this sentence that I don't know what they want to, I don't know what they want to convey. I find it strange. It says, Wizards believes that audiences for mature fantasy has expanded considerably since Dark Sun's last major tabletop incarnation. That is true. Bilsent specifically cited Game of Thrones and The Witcher as franchises that have changed what fantasy audiences expect. With that, I don't know what they're trying to say. For starters, The Witcher is okay, only the first season. After that is just a downhill spiral. It doesn't really work. It doesn't work for me, at least. Game of Thrones is good for like 5-6 seasons. After that, it's the same, a downhill spiral. How does that change what the fantasy audience expects? I don't really know. However, it's amazing that they're bringing Dark Sun back. I find it amazing. Then we have this, one of the craziest announcements here. If you don't know, Magic the Gathering has something called Universes Beyond, where they bring a separate universe into Magic the Gathering and they release an expansion pack for it. Sometimes they have been universes that are fantasy adjacent that could very easily be part of a D&D campaign, like Lord of the Rings, for example, like Final Fantasy maybe, though I think that's pushing it a little. But they have also released some stuff that's completely divorced from medieval fantasy, like some Marvel MCU heroes or Transformers. There has been everything for the Universes Beyond. And the Secret Layers, some special cards that they release in small packages, like they just released one for Stardew Valley a few weeks ago. I thought that was crazy. I love Stardew Valley. The cards, I think they're nice as collectibles, but I don't know, I just find it crazy. Well, they're doing this now with D&D too. They're gonna call it Universes Beyond program, and the first edition is going to be a Dungeons and Dragons plus World of Warcraft book. It's going to be 256 pages and it will be launched on November 17th. I mean, it's fantasy adjacent. It could be a D&D thing. However, they also announced that Star Wars is coming to Dungeons and Dragons. And they had Darth Vader there on the stage, and they didn't reveal all that much what that's going to be about, but we know it is just going to be a D&D book, but combined with Star Wars. I think that's pushing it. I really think that really is pushing it. I don't really like it. But like I told Arthur, I like Star Wars, I like D&D. So maybe the resulting book is going to be a nice collectible for a person like myself. But I really start to wonder. I really see the cracks starting to show in D&D as a brand when you start diluting it with stuff like this. I usually try to take an optimistic view of things. But I've seen this happening with Magic the Gathering for years and I don't like it. Sometimes they've released some expansions or some booster packs or however you want to call it, with things that are similar to the Magic the Gathering universes. And so it's like, okay, it's fine. Even in Magic the Gathering, it's like a multiverse. So they travel between different worlds. So maybe one of those worlds is the Lord of the Rings. Okay, I guess that could be it, but I am not really sure. But then what about the Transformers? What about the MCU Marvel characters? I don't think that has anything to do in Magic the Gathering, nor does it have anything to do in Dungeons and Dragons. But the way this is going, we're going to have a Marvel Cinematic Universe Dungeons and Dragons book next year or the year after. I can see it coming. Is it a good thing? I don't really know. I just don't like it. Is it good for the market? Is it good for the industry? Is it good for the brand? I don't think so. You know what I think? If Wizards of the Coast has an agreement with Star Wars, they shouldn't do a D&D Star Wars book. They should just do a Star Wars book that's a different system apart from D&D. And they could release a new player's handbook and DMG and monster manual if you want, or maybe just one book. So it's like all together in one single supplement, and maybe integrated with D&D Beyond, or maybe you make a Star Wars Beyond. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell them how to do their job, but that's what I would do. I would release a separate line of products that's Star Wars based. We have Star Wars RPG games So I'm guessing they're trying to be their competition anyway, so why not release a whole thing that's Star Wars made by Wizards of the Coast, but that's separate from D&D? Why all together? I don't see why, except maybe money. As always, money is the answer. That said, Wizards of the Coast, if you want to send me one of those books as copies, I'll review them on my channel. Alrighty, my friends, that is my coverage of some of these announcements of stuff that came up on Gen Con. I didn't get to go, but I watched it from afar. If you like this content, we also run a Patreon page. We release Dungeon Vault magazine every month. It's one of the longest running TTRPG magazines, and I know you are going to like it. We just released issue 72, and there is a free version for it. Like the first third of the magazine, it's free for you to peruse. I'm going to leave a link in the description. Please check out our work, and if you liked this video, consider giving us a subscribe. My name is Derek, and this is Elven Tower Adventures.